So welcome, everyone. And in adding to what he said, I just want to say, if you can't hear what I say, just put your hand up. My voice is kind of fading out. I'm going to try to be really aware of that or mindful of that. And we have some new members, so I just want to say welcome to you. So, and welcome to our regular members. So, I think before I start, I just go over the structure of our meeting, and then also um, like what the guidelines are. And so the structure is that I'll give a Dharma talk on a topic, and what I ask you to do is, as you listen to that, going along with what Jose was saying, to set aside the way that you usually look at the world, to make room to take in something new. And when he said, we're not preaching here, this isn't religion, and it's beautiful, it's wonderful. This is not replacing that. This is more expanding the way that you experience life. So if you can see it that way, then it becomes, and so you bring curiosity with you a lot more. You get to see a lot more. And really, what is it that we're learning? We're really getting to know ourselves and getting to know life freeing way. So, so I would say your companions on this journey are curiosity, interest, compassion when the journey gets difficult, and just like this really open, spacious mind. The Buddha said that our minds are luminous and bright. That is the nature of mind. So here what we're doing is we're peeling back the layers that have been the conditioning, right? The layers we accumulate over years. Because you weren't just born today. And so there's many experiences that you have, many ways that you learn to view the world. And some of those views, we don't even examine them. We just automatically believe them. So this is not saying to throw away your beliefs. It's more saying to see, is what you're believing true? And what does it lead to? Does it lead to suffering, or does it lead to openness, to joy, to empathy, to compassion, to connection? I don't know anyone who wouldn't want some of that. So the Dharma. So I'll give a Dharma talk, and then we'll have a Q&A period where you can ask questions. And even as you ask questions, what I ask is for the question to be heard, and then even as you ask the question, to ask it from a place of mindfulness, meaning that you're really connected with what's going on here, versus being in your head with a concept about, you're kind of evaluating what I'm saying and it doesn't make sense, or, it's not true. The automatic reaction is to shoot things down, right? So here what we're doing is we're letting things land and really reflecting on it, because this is a contemplative practice. So even that, like the contemplation, is the pausing, the taking in, the investigating. And that's why I like the description of it as a journey or a path. Also, during the Q&A session, we're allowing spaces between the response. So, meaning there's no crosstalk, or we're not trying to rescue or fix anybody or tell anybody what to do. We're speaking from our own experience. And we can share from that experience as well, but sharing not with the intention of changing somebody else, but more, this is what's going on for me, or something of that nature. So even in your asking, there's the mindfulness there, right? Um, and sometimes I do the class a little different. So it may be that I do a guided meditation and then we go into a Q&A answer, or I might pause in between. And I think that's part of the mindful path, kind of being flexible, right? Because I say that the open mind is open to anything that happens. And then we have that small self, right? The ego that wants things to be a certain way. And that part of our mind likes sameness. So as soon as things change, there's this reaction to that. And rather than get frustrated with ourselves or with others, it's kind of just beginning to notice that. Because even that might be a moment of waking up, right? Because we just do that automatically. It's somebody else's fault or it's my fault. And if we pause, we bring the attention here, what's happening here as I'm having those thoughts. We don't make ourselves wrong for having those thoughts. We begin to really pay attention. Because when we do that, we're coming back here, we can respond. Make sense? So again, even the practice of listening to a Dharma talk is an opportunity to be mindful. As you listen, how are you listening? And what are you feeling in your body as you're sitting and listening to these words? So watch the flow of sensation. Different things will arise, and then that'll pass away, and then I'll say something else. It might hit something else, and then something else arises. So it really is an opportunity to practice in real time. So this is from a blog post by a Zen teacher. Her name is Melissa Blacker. And it starts off with a Zen koan. And this is a riddle that can't be solved by the logical mind. And if meditated on, it can lead to a state of enlightenment. So it asks us to let go of reason and connect with intuition, or the wisdom that is found in the spacious mind and the awakened heart. So Ruyen, a Zen monk who woke up every morning and called to himself, "Master," and then he would answer, "Yes." "Are you awake?" "Yes." "Don't be fooled." "No, no." So if you try to listen to that and make sense of it with the logical mind, you won't. So she goes further. The exclamation marks are important. I myself awaken in many different mind, heart, body states. What is it today? Sometimes it's despair, sometimes great excitement, sometimes great fear. Sometimes the body is just weary and in pain. And then there are those lovely mornings when simple contentment takes the reins of the first few moments of consciousness. What to do, where to go from these humble, sometimes distressing beginnings. The challenge of this life is to wake up to whatever's here and never to forget that this being is capable. We encourage ourselves, our whole being, to be steady. Who knows what will happen? And it's not to be taken lightly. It's important. It warrants an exclamation. Perhaps from this ordinary moment will issue a freeing of the heart mind, a clarity of mind, an opening of the heart. We ask ourselves, am I awake? And the heart that shouts, help, help, ultimately exclaims, yes, yes. So there's this shift that can happen. So This is pointing at the liberation of mind and heart from hatred, greed, and delusion. And it's an invitation for us to come home. And I titled this talk, Bloom Where You Are Planted. So maybe some of you have heard that expression before. I really love that expression. Because it doesn't matter what the situation is around you, where you live, what the weather is like inside or outside. It's the possibility of opening, of seeing in this deep way where the heart mind remains open, compassionate, and responsive. That is the potential that the Buddha talked about. We leave this home many times a day. And home in this sense is not a physical house or dwelling with walls, windows, and doors. Home is this body, this mind, and this heart. And the truth is that if we're not rooted in our own hearts, then we're rooted in something or someplace that's unstable or unfulfilling. So this reminds me of a phrase from Death of a Salesman, and some of you have heard me use this before. Mr. Duffy lived a short distance from his body. So, and really, it's not that we're always in that state. How many moments we get caught up in some other state? And we can feel it when we're not present. The mind gets cloudy, the heart contracts or recedes, and the body, I like to say, what's a body? Because sometimes we don't even know we have them in that moment. So there's a way in which we disconnect many times, hours, days, years. And this practice is really inviting us to come back. Come back to this moment, because this is where life is, where wisdom lives, and the only place where there is a capacity of the heart to begin to open. So it isn't this like switch that we flick, of the heart opening, because it means we have to open to suffering. And that's not an easy thing to do. So even when we sit on the mat, sometimes it's really hard to even get there. Ever wonder why that is? I think part of it is really being curious about that. And we can make so many excuses about why. I was listening to Gil Fronsdal, who's the lead teacher at the Insight Meditation Center in Redwood City. And he was talking about, in the beginning, he would make all kinds of excuses about why he couldn't sit. He'd say, oh, I'll sit later. Now's not a good time. And then later, I'm too tired. I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow came and there was another excuse. So sometimes that's what practice looks like in the beginning. Or we have an expectation when we sit. So the expectation is one of, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to, really get so zen that it's going to feel like I'm floating, some unrealistic expectation that we have, that we're going to come out of the meditation with this different frame of mind, right? Or we sit in meditation with some issue that we're grappling with, thinking that we're going to resolve it on the cushion. So it isn't like that. That's not the way practice happens. It's actually letting go of those goals or expectations and actually being present to whatever is arising as you're sitting, being with it. Instead of being, kind of enmeshed in it, that we can have some space. And that space is what then allows for clarity or wisdom to arise. But it doesn't happen if you're chasing it. think of it like we have two cats, and one of our cats is really skittish. So if I try to catch her, she's very slippery, and she runs and she hides. But if I just sit on the couch, she'll come and she'll get on the couch and she'll curl up next to me. So it's kind of, if I just sit on the cushion without an expectation, then you begin to drop into a deeper place. Does that make sense? So there's not that tightness of going after and trying to get. This is just kind of openness. So nothing shifts without awareness. Mindfulness is said to shine the light of awareness on the things that we've kept in the dark. The things that we don't want to look at, but that run the show. It's almost like a program that's running in the background of the computer. You know, the one that slows the computer down. That's what it feels like on my computer anyway. You can't see it, but it's there. It's like the computer is really, really slow. And that's us. We have a program running in the background. You can call it negative self-talk, judgment, or limiting beliefs, fantasies, delusions, the emotion of the day. It's there when we're moving through life on autopilot or in moments of reactivity. This is a moment where we can shine the light of awareness on what's happening. Instead of just believing our stories or reacting blindly, we begin to connect with what's happening beyond the thinking mind. We pay attention to what's happening in our present moment experience. This means that we shift from trying to manage what is happening to coming into direct contact with what's alive and real in this moment. It could be a shifting to the breath, a moment of freedom. And this is what's called a mindful pause, or a sacred pause. So Mary Oliver's poem, Mindful, speaks of this. Close your eyes as you listen. Allow the images to arise as you hear the words. Let them land in the heart, the mind, and the body, perhaps creating a little more space or shift or perspective. Every day, I see something that more or less kills me with delight, that leaves me like a needle in the haystack of light. It was what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamations. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the extravagant, but of the ordinary, the common, the very drab, the daily presentations. Oh, good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings? Oh, good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings? So you can keep your eyes closed or open if you like. So in order for us to grow wise, we must pause and be present. Sounds good. Pausing, being present, that's amazing. This goes against our conditioned response to leave. And we leave thinking that something out there is going to do it for us. talked about this, he spoke of the 8 worldly winds and how we are blown by them. So really, I want you to listen and see if you can relate to these. They are praise and blame, pleasure and pain, gain and loss, fame and disrepute. And isn't this the truth? We move through life like it's a roller coaster ride. And just when we think it's safe, we finally got it, the roller coaster takes off again. When this happens, we leave this home, this heart, this body to chase something that we think we just have to have in order to be happy. Finally, we get that thing, and it doesn't bring lasting happiness. So I'm not saying that you don't get a sense of satisfaction. Get that thing, it doesn't last. And there's nothing wrong with wanting things. It's your relationship to that thing. And what I mean by that is when your whole identity is wrapped up in the thing you're chasing. Power, status, money, material things, relationships, addictions, whatever you want to call it. For everybody, it's different. Could be peace that we're chasing. We lose ourselves. And when we lose ourselves, we lose our connection to this precious life. I remember watching a movie called Company Men that spoke about this. Well, it wasn't a Buddhist movie, right? It was just a movie that really resonated because it was on this topic of chasing things, of having things, of like becoming that. It was about a group of executives who lost their jobs. I'm not sure if it was during the stock market, the crash, as a result of the crash. They went from having private planes, spacious offices, luxurious houses, etc., to having to seek employment on their own, losing their lifestyle and status. The adjustment was difficult, and some of them ended up turning to alcoholism, and one of them committed suicide because of the shame and the way in which he felt like a complete failure because he lost his identity. And how many times does this getting hooked and looking for success, connection, peace, whatever you want to call it, joy, happiness, in the outside world happen to us? So we're looking for something out here to set this heart and this mind at ease. And as I was writing this, I thought, boy, I sound so pessimistic, But I promise it's going to get better. So I think of Pema Chodron, where she says we have to go down in order to come up. And this is what she says about spiritual awakening. Spiritual awakening is frequently described as a journey to the top of a mountain. We leave our attachments and our worldliness behind and slowly make our way to the top. At the peak, we transcend all pain. The only problem with this metaphor is that we leave all the others behind. Our drunken brother, our schizophrenic sister, our tormented animals and friends. Their suffering continues unrelieved by our personal escape. In the process of discovering bodhicitta, bodhicitta is a Sanskrit word that means noble or awakened heart. The journey goes down, not up. It's as if the mountain pointed toward the center of the earth instead of reaching into the sky. Instead of transcending the suffering of all creatures, we move toward the turbulence and doubt. We jump into it. We move toward it however we can. We explore the reality and unpredictability of insecurity and pain, and we try not to push it away. If it takes years, if it takes lifetimes, we let it be as it is. At our pace, without speed or aggression, and this is so important, without speeding through life, without being like that bull in a china shop, trying to get to that place and not aware of what you're doing as you're getting there. With us move millions of others, our companions in awakening from fear. At the bottom, we discover water, the healing water of bodhicitta. Right down there in the thick of things, we discover the love that will not die. So can you see how this is pointing at something that's really transformational? So this is a journey we embark on when we meditate. It's coming back here and cultivating this love that will not die. And as Pema says, this journey may take us years or a lifetime. So when we practice, it's important to know that we're doing it for our benefit, and that in turn is for the benefit of others. Because if we're more peaceful, we're more compassionate and understanding, it's not about changing the people around us, but there's a way in which people around us feel safer. And even if they don't feel safer, that's not about us, that's their suffering. That's their challenges in life. So we stop reacting and trying to get them to be okay, because that's the, if you're okay, then I'm okay. This is, I'm okay, and you're okay, even when you're not okay. Does that make sense? And really, it's a call to reclaim our aliveness. If you see a baby when they're first born, they're a bundle of energy. They're not criticizing, looking at their fingers and saying, I wish my fingers were longer, or, I wish I could walk already. And that's us, that open, curious, wonder, heart open. That's us. But we've forgotten that. So what gets in the way? So in the beginning, this practice can be challenging because we're so used to seeing life through the lens of our conditioning, through our experiences, traumas, expectations, etc. We have thoughts and then we react to those thoughts, especially when we get triggered. And in reacting, we become confused, lost, and at times scared. And when we're scared, our defenses get triggered. You don't have to believe me. Just check inside or think about the last time you got triggered. It could be a thought or a belief about how you should be, how others should be. What follows usually is reactivity, judgment, shaming, or guilt, or all of it. And what happens, and really, what happens to our bodies when we react? What happens to the mind? What happens to the heart? Again, reflect on the last time you got triggered. It's like we get totally consumed in the story and we're completely cut off. We contract, the mind gets tight, the heart closes, and we go into survival mode. And the trigger isn't really important, although we usually think it is, and we get stuck there. It's how we're relating to the trigger that matters. Because once we take the bait, I say it's like we're the fish in the water, the bait is the trigger, falls down and whoop, you grab onto it, you're out of the water, and you're pretty much dead. And in that moment of reactivity, like we're in a space of deadness. There's no aliveness there. There's no joy, there's no compassion, there's nothing that's wholesome or nourishing. It's like we're seeking safety through perfection, trying to make life perfect, and it doesn't work. So a quote, "Life is the song of a mockingbird and the purring of a cat. The cat eats the mockingbird, and sometimes the mockingbird poops on the cat." So is this making sense? So it could be anything that takes us away from here, right? From this moment, from this body, from this heart, from this mind. From the very thing that can help us heal, connect, retain the reactivity. So I'm inviting you to fill in the blank here. It's the if, then, or if only mind we get caught in. It's some version of, if only I was smarter, then I would get the position. Or if only I was wealthier or skinnier or prettier or taller or whatever. We pick at ourselves and at life. Tara Brach calls this homesickness. She says that we suffer from homesickness. So what does this mean? And how does it happen? I don't think there's any one answer to this. If there was, you wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't be sitting here. I think it starts when we're young and then gets solidified with repetition. I remember reading a story from her book, True Refuge, where she says, we must learn to make friends with our mind. There's an understanding that our sickness, our real sickness, is homesickness. This is what we suffer when we're disconnected from ourselves, our loved ones, and the earth. That we take refuge in things that are not fulfilling, seeking stability, safety, acceptance, or validation from the outside. And in that book, she told a story about a family that goes into a restaurant, sitting, and they sit down, the waitress comes to take the order. So she takes the order of the parents, and then she turns to the little girl and asks, and what will you have today? And the little girl responds, I'll have a hot dog and French fries. And the father immediately responds, oh, no, you won't. He turns to the waitress and says, she'll have the mashed potatoes and chicken. And the waitress looks at the little girl and says, would you like ketchup with your fries? The little girl then looks at her parents and says, she thinks I'm real. Finding our way back to our true home is a journey back to the heart that has room for all of life's joys, sorrows, and everything in between. And back to the mind that is spacious and luminous when we're not caught up in stories or drama. So I'll pause there. So just pausing there and just kind of taking in what was said. Because that's really important. And that calming the mind, this is the practice. It's to sit with the questions, noticing what's felt in the body as you have those questions. Because again, our tendency is to turn answer. It's not out here. It really isn't. It's tempting to think it is. And if you look at all the advertisements, they tell you it is. Even mindfulness is being advertised as a commodity. You can get more peace of mind.
Okay.
So before going there, and this is, I say this is really the practice, is to sit with whatever it is that's coming up. And it's really about getting that clarity of mind, which you can't get if you're in the conceptual mind. Take a moment, check in. Notice what's felt after hearing these words. And see if you can connect with that place inside that really hears the truth of these teachings, that goes beyond the ego mind. Notice how the mind is as you're sitting here. Notice the thoughts. Focus on the sensation of the breath coming into the body. See if you can let there be a sense of ease in the body. Notice your posture. How are you sitting? How are you paying attention in this moment? How is the heart? It's a heart space. No expectation, just checking in. So this moment is precious. How do you want to live it? And the mind can get hooked. Even in that, there's an opportunity to notice, breathe, and come back to this body, this mind, this heart. And so taking a breath and opening your eyes. And then I'll take questions.
What I struggle with is what I talked about last week, is that you can't completely figure out what it is that's cooking, whatever you want to use. You know a little bit, but it's the letting go, even if you can't figure it out, and not using the conceptual mind. Now, I'm just going to make a very quick example. When I was in college, there were still scholars trying to figure out how did Hitler get into power. And a German historian took a group of German students, watch film clips of Hitler, audio and video. And then they got them in separate rooms and asked them questions so one could influence the other. And they were stunned to find out, they were appalled at the anti-Semitism, the racism, but they thought that the guy was a clown. Clownish was a common adjective they all used, a joke. And they couldn't understand how their parents and grandparents could have listened and gone for this kind of person. It was just baffling to them. And I had the same reaction to some of my friends when it comes to our present, plus the inability to see what I think is crystal clear is that our democracy is in danger. Okay. So that's my question, is this is happening without mindfulness, but it happens to me too. How do you let go? How do you explain how all human beings seem to have that difficulty? Trump is not causing it. He's the result of decades of what happened here.
So, if you remember in the quote I used by Pema, she talked about we leave behind our schizophrenic sister, our drunken brother, you know. It's a journey where we're all in this journey together. We're not separate. Delusion isn't something that's cornered by a certain group. It's something that we all engage in. And more than anything, it's how we ourselves are relating to what's happening in this moment. So when you're sitting and that comes up for you, how are you relating to it? Are you turning towards this and seeing what's going on here? Or are you going here and trying to solve the world's problems? It doesn't work. And it's not making, again, I want to say, if we make ourselves or others wrong, we're not on this path. Because then we're on the path of division. This group is okay, this group is not okay. And the truth is, that's what Emma was talking about when she said, we all travel the journey together. We go towards the turbulence. It's not turning away from the suffering, because then we're creating this. You know, this is like the spiritual bypassing, right? Meaning that, you know, I'm on this journey to be free of suffering, and that means that I have to block out that creates any kind of pain. That's a spiritual bypassing, right? I'm going to go away to the mountains and retreat to a cave. But even there, I'll find suffering. So it's, how do we meet that suffering? It isn't about getting rid of it. Because that's what we've been doing. That's what we learned to do from when we were little. Turn that frown upside down. Ever heard that phrase? A little kid gets sad and, you know.
Upside up. Like that.
Oh, turn that.
Turn that frown around.
No,
that.
let's turn that frown upside down. Yeah. So, yeah, that's right. Turn the frown upside down. It becomes a smile.
It becomes a smile. Okay.
Yeah. So there it is. Kind of like that moment of doubt, right? So it's this. We're told from when we're little that there's a way in which we need to be. There's a way in which the world needs to be, and the way we're being is not it. Think back to when you were a little kid, the moments that you were sad or you were playing and you were making too much noise, you know, and told to be quiet, or you're a little girl and you go out to play and you're told, you know, little girls don't get dirty. You got to keep that dress nice and clean. Or a boy can't be sad because, you know, that's not okay. There's a phrase I remember hearing. I think it's something that's used in the military.
Pain.
Pain is weakness
leaving the body.
Leaving the body.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch. That hurts. Can you see why? Even the pain is wrong. This pain is wrong. I shouldn't have it. That's the message. How many moments do we move through our life trying to escape that? And one of the examples that I love is, I don't remember which teacher gave this example, but he said, find the most comfortable chair in your house. Try to sit in it for an hour without moving. And see how comfortable it is at the end of that. It's not wrong to move, but it's this expectation that we have that we're supposed to be comfortable.
Right. So it's a form of acceptance.
Yes.
But also, sometimes you can't accept. That's how we have movements, and that's how we have change.
Right.
Nothing that has been acquired, for example, in a democracy, is because the politicians are so nice. There's a movement, pressure, and there's a change.
So what I'm going to say is, number one, we're not debating here. We're investigating. There isn't this getting to an answer that solves everything. Because that's the way we move through life. You know, we're always trying to solve how things should be, how I should be, how they should be, that's how we move through life. And with that, we get caught in this story about how things need to be or how they should be. And by the way, acceptance is not resignation. In order for any change to happen, there must first be awareness and acceptance. Without that, you are living on autopilot. You're living mindlessly. You're living in that virtual world of how life should be. And feel into your body when you're in that state of mind, when you're framing life in that way. Tune in. Really check in here. Because that's the opportunity to come home. That Tara Brach uses on our sickness is homesickness. It really is. So it's a real gift when we come back here. And we start to notice when we're resting our minds on things that are unwholesome. Because that's also a way of, I say that it's, mindfulness is The mind is like a window. So we want to keep that window clean and clear so we can see, to how life really is instead of all these judgments and beliefs and expectations that we have that are exhausting. Think about it. The only way you can do that is if you're here. So we'll meditate now. So even in meditation, how you sit and how you're paying attention is really important. As if we're sitting for something that is really warrants your attention, with that spine tall, like a posture of dignity. Allowing the shoulders to relax down away from the ears. So there's this sense of wakefulness, alertness. Feeling the floor beneath you, your feet on the ground. So taking some moments to really feel your body here, in this space. The weight of the body supported by the cushion or the chair. And then as you feel into the body, notice what is sensed. Is there tension? Ease? Or some other sensation? So again, bringing curiosity to your experience. And then shifting your attention to breathing. Breathing in and feeling the sensation of the breath entering the body. The coolness at the tip of the nostrils as it enters, the warmth of the breath as it leaves the body. This is a way of coming back home, emerging from the virtual world of thoughts and entering the world of the breath, of the body. Connecting with your aliveness. This aliveness that can only be found here in this breath, this body, this heart. So as you are breathing in, feeling the spaciousness of the breath, the expansion created by the in-breath, the release created by the out-breath. And see if you can be present for the next 3 breaths. Breathing in, knowing you're breathing in. Breathing out, knowing you're breathing out. Allowing the breath to be natural. And not trying to breathe in any particular way. Just being present for this experience of breathing. Sensing the breath coming in and flowing out. And perhaps the mind has wandered away. And that's perfectly okay. As soon as you notice the mind has wandered, gently, kindly, bring your attention back to the breath. This is part of training the mind to come back to the present, training the attention to be here. And then shifting the attention to the sensations in the body. You might feel the aliveness in the body as tingling, vibration, swirling, pulsing, or some other sensation. You might notice how sensations arise, and eventually fade away, or transform into some other sensation. And again, with that sense of curiosity, noticing what parts of the body are most alive. Where is the sensation felt most prominently, most strongly? And you might notice there's parts of the body where there isn't much sensation. And being open to whatever's here. This is how we come home. This is how we arrive back here. So even if there's discomfort in the body, and you find a way to be with it, stay open. Kind with the body. Notice any chatter in the mind. Again, not making it wrong, just noticing. Coming back to the aliveness that's here. So as many times as you leave, there's always the possibility of coming back, just as many times. You might even notice that there's times when you leave. Sometimes it's because of discomfort, getting caught in this story. And then just taking a breath. The ground beneath you, sensations in the body or the breath. So that whatever's here, it's not right or wrong. It's really just like this. In this moment, the body is like this. The heart is like this. The mind is like this. And if you're not sure where to place the attention, you might place it on the breath. Wherever you feel the breath most strongly. Allowing that place to anchor you here in the present. And again, shifting the attention now to notice the energy in the body, sensing what's here. Is there restlessness, agitation, calmness, tranquility, frustration? Could be sleepiness or some type of energy. Perhaps your mind has already wandered away from this moment, wandered away from this home. Again, when that happens, it's not a problem. You can always begin again. Finally, gently shifting your attention back to the body. Getting to know the inner world in this intimate, close-up way. Learning to be with it in this kind, friendly, and open way. Maybe it's just creating space around whatever's here. And again, an invitation to now shift to see, to sense what's the state of mind. Is the mind racing? The thoughts racing? Is the mind agitated? Just noticing the state of mind, what it's like right now. Perhaps open, spacious, contracted. Thich Nhat Hanh says, this moment is the only moment, present moment. He speaks in a beautiful, poetic way, inviting us to come back home. So listening and allowing these words to land in the open space of mind and heart. Awareness is a mirror reflecting the four elements. Beauty is a heart that generates love and a mind that is open. Then noticing whatever feelings are present, whatever emotions arise. You might name the emotion. Again, with this curiosity. Allowing the feelings to come and go like clouds in the sky. Sense the presence of others around you. That we're on this journey together. Knowing that part of the journey is connecting with ourselves in this deep-hearted way, and part of it is connecting with others. So ending with a poem and keeping your eyes closed as you listen. This is a poem by Maya Angelou called Alone. Lying, thinking last night how to find my soul a home where water is not thirsty and bread loaf is not stone. I came up with one thing, and I don't believe I'm wrong. Now, if you listen closely, I'll tell you what I know. Storm clouds are gathering. The wind is going to blow. The race of man is suffering, and I can hear the moan, because nobody, but nobody, can make it out here alone. Alone, all alone. Nobody, but nobody, can make it out here alone. May this practice serve to awaken our hearts and that of all beings everywhere. Namaste.